In this video, I'm going to show you the most powerful technique for shifting to a parallel reality instantly, and by the end of this video, you're going to be able to do that easier than ever. Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron, and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the most powerful technique I've ever found for shifting to a parallel reality instantly. It has to do with understanding how reality works. It has to do with understanding one simple gesture that you can do to start to create a greater degree of change from the parallel reality you are in to the one that you want to experience. So first off, here's the thing. The movement that we experience alone is us shifting through different parallel realities, because there's an infinite number of parallel realities that exist. The change we can put in our world and the change we can experience will depend upon the greatest degree of change we can make from one parallel reality to another parallel reality. In a way, this is similar to the law of attraction. Because of the law of attraction, it's the idea that we are always using it whether we are aware of it or not. We may even use it to believe it doesn't work. Because if we focus on it not working, we attract situations where it doesn't work, which is of course using that process. Now, the parallel reality shifting is a natural byproduct for the way reality works. So it's not something we have to learn how to do. We're going to do it regardless. Here is the thing. Think of it in the form of the film strip analogy, which makes it the easiest to understand, I find, is this analogy here. Imagine that there is a film projector, light shines through the film, and there's different frames that come into place. And we know that if we were to stretch out those frames, we were to take the film strip, stretch it out, you'd see a frame over here, maybe looking like this, then a frame over here, maybe looking like this, then a frame over here, maybe looking like this. These three frames all exist at the same moment. And going like this, movement is what connects them. Movement is what connects them. Now regardless, there's going to be some level of the film strip going on. There's going to be some type of experience that we call life that is having us shift from parallel reality to parallel reality to parallel reality. However, when we look at this, what we want to do is we want to create a greater degree of change from one reality to another reality. We want to create a greater degree of change, but it's not something we have to learn how to do. Now understand this as well. The parallel reality that you want to experience, it already exists. You don't have to create it because it already exists at a certain frequency. Now, the key to this is understanding that because we can look at these different frames of reality, we can imagine the best case scenario reality that we want, and we can see that as one parallel reality frame. Now, the technique I'm going to share with you is going to allow you to look at that frame of reality and simply make the choice to switch. Simply make the choice to live as if. There's a powerful book that is by Neville Goddard. It has to do with the technique in this book. It has to do with assuming the wish fulfilled. Assume the wish fulfilled. In a way, you could say that's look at this parallel reality frame and assume this to be, intend it to be, and live as that version of you. Because understand, we always get a reflection in our life of what we believe to be true, and we always get a reflection in life of who we are. Something I used to say on this YouTube channel all the time is I would say, you don't always attract what you want, but you always get a reflection of who you are being, who you are. Now imagine these different frames of reality. There's an infinite number of us. The thing is we tell ourselves a story that keeps the same parallel reality frames playing on over and over and over and over again because of the autopilot mind. But the funny thing is, even if we were to create the experience of being stuck, we'd be shifting to a new parallel reality over and over again where we appear to be stuck. But they're separate parallel realities over and over and over again. It's just our story that keeps that pattern into place. Our story is what's controlling the parameter of what parallel realities we shift to, what film reel we are using. But the key to this is knowing that you can switch it out at any time you want. It's simply about you giving yourself more permission to do so. Anytime I look at how my life has changed the most over the last 3 to 5 years, it has been because I've had an identity shift. I've shifted my identity itself. Not because I was trying to fake it till I make it and like think of something that was not me, although in a way you could say it was. I was more so focused on being the most authentic version of me. Which was back in the day me working a 9-to-5 job, which wasn't a expression of who I really was, selling women's shoes, to then deciding that I was going to see myself as somebody that took action. That was a part of it. When you look at these parallel reality frames, which is going to include a new identity. So see, imagine we have all these different parallel reality frames, these probable versions of you. There is a version of you that's absolutely killing it in life. There's a version of you that is doing way less great at where you currently are now. And there's a version of you, everything you can imagine in between. Now, knowing this makes it easy because then you can tap into these different versions of you. Now, what I did back in 2017 is I imagined the version of me that was doing YouTube full-time, that was real passionate about what I was doing. And I noticed that Aaron, that version of me, was making a lot of videos. Every time I think about it, like, he just makes a lot of videos. He loves making videos so much that you can't keep him from making videos. And I imagined that version of me. And I had a 9-to-5 job at the time. And normally what you think is we have these stories in our mind. We're like, oh, well, I could become full-time at YouTube when I quit my job, and then I go full-time on YouTube, and I make a lot of videos, and then I go full-time. But it's not how it works. Instead, you must embody the vibration so much of what you want that becomes the dominant vibration. It's not this or this, because then what happens is if I just went for the YouTube before I actually was detaching from the job and like still in doing the job while doing YouTube, I would have made YouTube very, very important, and then I would have created resistance around it. Instead, I did both. Even though I was very, very busy, it allowed me to dominate my vibration with who I am, becoming this person that works hard. It changed my identity too. I started to see myself as somebody that just makes daily videos, doesn't have excuses, makes 40 hours a week he works a job he doesn't really care about, but also 30 hours a week he makes YouTube videos. It changed my identity. And the key is knowing that as you change your identity, there'll be a period of time when we don't get our direct one-on-one reflection. There was a month or two where things still weren't growing very fast, but as long as I held strong to the vision, eventually my reality shifted. And I started to experience that. Now, what is the most powerful technique for shifting to a parallel reality? It has to do with the change technique. I learned this from Dr. Joe Dispenza. He has a book called How to Break the Habit of Being Yourself. And it has to do with understanding the autopilot mind. It's just running itself out over and over and over again. But you can wake it up with a certain type of technique. And this technique could be very simple. It could be clapping your hands like this. And what this does is this wakes us up out of the autopilot mind. As we wake up out of the autopilot mind, we then start to create a new reality. We stretch and create new neural networks in the brain. So what I would do is anytime I would think about how I couldn't create daily videos on YouTube, or every time I'd go back into the autopilot mind of being like, oh, this job I don't really care about, all this stuff, I would do this and go change. This brings in your physiology, change. You keep reaffirming the new identity. You can reaffirm the new identity, change. This is who I prefer to be, change. Anytime you remember, you're bringing yourself back to that awareness. So understand that any of these parallel reality frames we can imagine, they already exist. But with repetition, we can focus on the frames that we prefer and focus on being the person that we prefer to be. Now here's the thing with this process. Here's what I found to be the magic sauce. Magic sauce, that's always a funny word, I never understood. Anyways, magic sauce. Imagine the parallel reality we want to experience. It exists right now. Instead of focusing on the things you think you will get in certain parallel realities, focus on the qualities you will have. Kind of like ingredients. Imagine you're baking a cake. A beautiful vegan cake. made with almond milk, vegan eggs. I don't know what those are made out of. All this other stuff, okay? You have certain ingredients you might put in. You might put in a little bit of some type of gluten-free. It's a gluten-free vegan cake, okay? You might put in some type of gluten-free stuff that makes the cake. I'm not a cook. Is it like wheat flour or something? I don't know. But it's gluten-free, so it's not wheat. You put it in there, okay? Then you put in some of that almond milk. Then you put in some of this vegan cake mix. And as you're putting in each of these ingredients, this is coming to be the kind of person that you are. But it's the authentic part of you. So a part of that ingredient is your passion. What do you love doing? Part of that is maybe a certain quality. Maybe you realize, you know, in this parallel reality I imagine, I'm not afraid to express myself, so I'm expressing myself more. So you put in this expression ingredient. You put in the ingredients of you doing what you love. You put in this ingredient of you having fun with other people. You put in this ingredient of you having a good sense of humor. What is the parallel reality version of you imagine? What qualities do you have? And then put that into your cake, your vegan gluten-free cake. Because then that is the kind of person that you become, and then you will eventually experience a reality that is equal to that version of you. But a way that you can always add in those ingredients is by reminding yourself with repetition with the change technique. Change. Change. And do that over and over again. It wakes you up from the autopilot mind, and it allows you to then focus on the frame of reality you want to experience. Which also has to do with something that's called creating a slide. The slide technique. The slide technique has to do with something that's from a book called Reality Transurfing, which is the most powerful manifestation process I've ever found. It's a book that was written by a quantum physicist named Vadim Zeland. And it has to do with imagining the parallel reality we want and knowing that we can shift to it easier because it's already created. We don't have to try to attract something from over there to into here. We just have to pick the parallel reality that we want to experience and tap into that frequency and be that person. And the slide technique is when we imagine that slide, what we would imagine that version of us to be, what would it look like through our eyes, and we then can use the technique, the change technique, to insert that slide, Think about it as a parallel reality frame, and over and over and over again, we insert that slide, That's called the slide technique. And if you want to learn more about reality transurfing techniques, I'm going to go ahead and link it below. Reality transurfing is the most powerful manifestation process that I found. And there's a technique called outer intention, which is what I use to attract this house. Outer intention, there's something called the reality amalgam. Very, very powerful technique. All these I explained in the training video that you will see below. You can watch that, and I'll explain to you the top 3 reality transurfing techniques that changed my life. So understand that for this process is about understanding who you are, how reality works. We're shifting regardless. Just like you're using the law of attraction whether you're aware of it or not, but how deliberate will you be with it? That is the key. And to more deliberately shift to the parallel reality you want, you have to first off realize what is on autopilot and then choose the new one. Choose the best case scenario. Choose the ideal reality of what you want to experience and change, change, change. And as you change, you wake up from the autopilot mind and you shift yourself to the one that you want. This is what I used to become a full-time YouTuber. This is what I used to let go of certain habits I had. I used to chew my fingers a lot. Change. Boom. You need 2 hands, then you can't really chew. So over and over and over again, with repetition, it changes everything. So that's a way that you can start to give yourself more permission to change instantly. It can be that quick too. It's just our belief systems keep this process into place. Oh, it's a long process. It takes this, and then it takes longer and longer. Give yourself permission to change now and watch how your life begins to change. So, something else I'll be doing is more live Q&As on Instagram. So if you haven't followed me on Instagram yet, you can follow me right here. You can ask me questions. Plus, I post twice a day there as well. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the little notification gear so you can see the daily vids that I do. And other than that, as always, peace, much love, and namaste.